Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Happy Father's Day. I've got one eyeball on YouTube. Welcome to you. Let's give it here 1 second and kind of let people figure out where the stream is. Tell me who's over there at YouTube. Give me your name or if you would, please. Two folk over there. Awesome. Good. All right. So whenever we stream, one point it was we'd only stream the live stream would happen at church. But some of you all may or may not know that we stopped pastoring traditionally in March. And so, what I mean when I say that is that we had a media team that did and was responsible for all the streams. And any other time that I stream, it was via Zoom. So, I'm using a different platform that I can send one signal to several locations. So, I'm not as adept at viewing comments. So can somebody give me a comment or so? Okay, so I'm now I see it. I see my chat overlay. Somebody drop me your name. Tell me where you're from. Give me 1 second. Still do that. But give me 1 second. I'm gonna go off screen here. All right. Maybe that'll be a little better. All right, so six eyeballs. Some are on, most of you guys are over on YouTube. All right, Markel Baker. Hello, sir, from Augusta. Welcome on tonight. Thank you very much. And I'm assuming, Markel, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you can hear me and see me. Today's Father's Day, and just as I kind of keep an eye on where it's coming from, and Markel, I see that you're from YouTube. With today being Father's Day, if you got my message, I said that it's hitting differently this year. And it's hitting differently because I have recently, on this past Thursday, the podcast that I was a part of with Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. Name of the podcast is Let's Be Clear. He's got some dope interviews over there. This past Thursday, my podcast was released, and I talked about on that podcast my journey through, well, I guess I should say my journey to mental wellness. Now, what that means is that I have had a journey and I'm very cautious of saying mental illness. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on tonight. All right. So my larger text message just did not go out to people. Give me 1 second. Hey, Shandi, I see you there. 1 minute. All right. Create. Was it sent? It did not go out. All right, y'all. Thank you for your patience. Links for streams. There we are. We got that one. Copy. Okay, and we're going to send it. Review it, send. All right. So there we go. Okay, again, thank you for your patience. Hello, Anthony Glover. You're on YouTube. My wife wants to watch too. Please, let me just say that tonight isn't just for men. It's a conversation about men and particularly Black men around mental health. And so go if you're a male and you've got your wife or your lady, whomever it is, go and grab them, have them share in this conversation. Um, I'll be doing much more of these. I'm developing and building a community that I want us to be able to have a place of reference. Here's the thing: when it comes down to mental illness, um, it can be done on an island, and that's not what should happen. That's not what should happen. I've never done anything over the past 18 years that we have been at the church, doing church. The church turned 18 in January. I've never done anything that has stirred up as much interest, questions, sadness, um, um, revisited memories. I've never done anything to that degree. And this is just only for what I can see on my social media pages. Never done anything. There have been DMs, there have been phone calls. I found myself on the phone one day, all day long, with people encouraging me, but also people telling me about some of their own struggles. And the common thing was they felt like they could not tell anybody. And so if you see up there in that in the top right corner, there is a QR code. You can scan that, and it will populate. We'll grab your name and of course, we'll have your phone number, and anything that I do going forward, you'll be able to be a part of that. I will let people know. So even if you were already a part of, you'd already texted in, you just got a notice from me saying that I was live and the link to get to where I am. Hey, Christy, good to see you on tonight. So y'all are crushing it. YouTube is killing it by far. Share the stream also. Share this stream also. Okay, so on tonight, I want to talk about a few things. Who is a father? If you're a father, just drop a number one. If you're a father, drop a number one. All dads, drop a number one. If you're granddad, drop a number two. You can't be a granddad without being a father. So if you're granddad, drop a number two. And if I've got any surrogate fathers, I mean, you may have kids that are not your own, or you don't have kids, but you have um, adopted kids. Throwing your arms around it. I don't think I said that clearly enough. Surrogate dads, you don't have kids, but you're in a child's life as a father, fathering, providing male influence, or you have kids, but then you also have kids that are not yours. Drop a number three in there. Our fathers are one, our grandfathers are two, and any surrogate fathers, holler at me and drop a three in there. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. All right, cool. There we go. We got Love It Markel, surrogate dad, David above the cloud, good granddads. Awesome, awesome, awesome. There's another granddad, isn't the father? Good stuff, good stuff. All right, so part of the reason I'm asking that is because with today being Father's Day, I identify with you in your fathering as being a father, but I also come to you with my experience as what I was talking about in the podcast that was just released with Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. Podcast is called Let's Be Clear. Why do you keep saying that? Because that's what the interview is. That's what the interview is. I'm going to load it up, load it up on my site, on my YouTube page soon. But I want you to, I'm not going to wait for that. I think the information there is is terribly good. It's terribly good. So the conversation comes as a man. Well, it seems kind of racist, Pastor, for you to say a black man. Yes, I am a black man. I can only be such. And then it also comes as being a father. So there's some dynamics that overlap. If you remember in high school, or even in middle school, there were Venn diagrams, and so there are these circles and the places where it overlapped, and that's where the shading was differently than the other circles. There's some places where these things overlap with each other. Us being black men, us being men, black men. I'd even go so far as to say black Christians. And I'm going to pause there and say that just because you're saved, it does not mean you are absolved from having to deal with mental issues. That is, if I could come against anything, I would come against that right there. I recently heard a preacher say in one of the services I was in a month or so ago that should not, a believer should not deal with mental illness, that you need to rebuke it. And that's just wrong. It is absolutely wrong. Um, so we have those parts over there. A man, a black man, a man of God, a man of faith. But then you also have what the culture, the different and distinguishing marks that are in the culture that all of this affects us in. I'm going to talk about three things that affect black men in a disparate way versus others. And I want to not just look at the bad. I believe if we can start looking at where God is, our conversations will change, our mindsets will change, life will change. Okay, so let me give you this piece on mental illness. Mental illness, mental illness. I said I am slow to say my mental illness, and part of that's because words do have life. The other thing is that I don't want to claim anything that is not mine. I don't want to get too Christianese right here, but at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow. And the last I checked, over the past 25 years, I've had to move through this place of surviving to thriving. Mental illness has a name. And so if it has a name, it must bow at the greatest name that there is. Got 27 people that are viewing across all channels. Associate yourself, please, or rather share out this message if you would. Share it, send it to somebody. If you're to somebody, if you're on our YouTube channel, which is where the majority of people are, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 number. Um, really am. So if you'd be a part of that, that would be great. All right. So what was I saying? I'm kind of flowing. So three things that I want to discuss on tonight when it comes down to fathers. I think the word that is used the most is the word depression. And pharmacist or big pharma is getting richer and richer, not only around the meds that are prescribed for mental health, but across the field, you name it, it's being medicated with big pharma. I am the medicines that I take are it's big pharma. And it has been studied and researched out that because your brain can change, literally change, and there's the imbalance of the chemicals that the brain is producing, then that's where the medicine, if you would, comes in to address the illness. I hope you see what I just did. People talk about and reference mental illness. Okay, let me give you this piece. If you have a heart condition, if you have a pulmonary condition, if you have a intestinal or a gastric issue, you name it, whatever may be, if you have a blood condition, any organ that you have can be susceptible to illness. And what do? We take that illness and we go to a doctor and we start treatment. So, why would we then ignore our brains as being organs that has some kind of dis-ease, some kind of illness associated with it? And that's part of the reason why I say that it can't be just about your faith. I will not claim what is not mine, but in the same sense, I'm not going to live in mental hellness. That's the word I coined that one. Mental hellness. I'm not going to live there, because not only would I have to then make the choice not to take my medicines, and I don't know why people. I don't know if it's just a man thing that I'm too macho. I don't need help. I don't need any medicine. But if the medicine is going to bring balance to something that has some offset in it that is creating and qualifying in a larger sense as being mental illness, why would we not take medicine? To me, it just does not make sense. It doesn't make sense. And so, to that end, we have to understand that this is a decision to make. My whole reason, my whole purpose um, is to not to begin to normalize mental illness. My whole purpose for sharing is twofold. Number one, this is the assignment of this next season that God has snuck in on me. That's a whole story for another day. I know that me talking to you now and any of the future, in the future lives or interactions that I have with people, whether it's one-on-one, as groups, as churches, as schools, as civic organizations, as in government, in corporate America, it will be to show that you do not just have to survive. That is the last thing that God wants you to do, is to have to survive. I have learned to thrive. Now, I talked about mental healthness. There's something that happens on the inside of someone who is struggling with whatever mental issue that there may be that almost cannot be described. But that person is in community. And so what is going on the inside of them is affecting the larger community. I'm going to use myself as an example. I've been married for 26 years. My daughter will be 25 in October. My son is 20. There's nowhere in the world I could live with what was going on in my head without it affecting my heart, without it affecting my spiritual life. There's no in the world I could live with that and it not affect my wife, my daughter, my son, our children, our family. Do you see all those dimensions? Because not only does my daughter relate to me in one way, my son relates to me in a way that my daughter does not. And then as children, they relate to me in a different way. And then my wife, and then the mother of there's so many different dynamics that my hellness can be brought to. And ladies and gentlemen, particularly, if we do not give redress to that gnawing that is on the inside, if we let our pride continue to dictate what our next steps are and what we do and what we don't do, if we continue to take medicine, let me talk about that for a moment. The pain that can be ignited on the inside is what we go and get pain medicine for. And different people have different pain medicines. Some people you numb out on Netflix because that series gets you going, and just for a little while you can forget about real life. Some folk take on the extracurricular activity or continue of marijuana. There's a whole nother debate about marijuana and mental illness. Not going to go there now. Some people, so my diagnosis was not only depression, anxiety, severe depression, but it was also bipolarity, bipolar 2. And the difference in 1 and 2 is that you can tell when someone has bipolar because they're manic or they're depressive. They're very, very excited and, they can conquer the world. And then they find themselves totally numbed out, sitting in a dark room, not taking a bath, not taking care of their hygiene. You can see the swings more easily. Bipolar 2, it's still two different poles, but unless you know someone really, really well and can see the patterns, you're not going to notice the different swings. And so, um, shucks, I forgot what I was saying. Why'd I even get to that? I was talking about my diagnosis. I don't know if somebody reminds me, I'll pick back up there. But I do want to. All right, Sky, I'm trying to preach. I'm trying to preach. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Those of you who are just joining in, um, hit that subscribe button, please. The majority of those of you all who are watching, you're on YouTube. I'm really trying to get to that 1,000 number. Hit that subscribe button for me, please. And then you see that QR code that's up there in the top. If you're not on your device, scan that, and it would be good because you'll then pop into my own group, my texting group. Part of what I'm trying to do is establish a community, that we have more conversations like this. I want to start leading groups. I just put how you can text it in, text JW3 to 844-868-9955. While you're clicking subscribe, also click the like button. That helps the algorithms go up. If you would please, there's something else that I wanted you all to want y'all to see. Okay, I'll talk about that one later. But let me, and then somebody remind me what I was trying to say. It's so much on the inside of me, so much that I've learned. I'm really looking forward to being a leader in this space and helping people. My tagline is I'm done surviving, I'm thriving. I'm sorry, I went back to where that came and how that came. It was nothing I've been thinking about. It wasn't any branding specialist that or expert that helped me get that. It was me being reflective on my life and the many, many victories that I've had. And this was 3 months or so ago, maybe 4 months ago. And I remember sitting there. I was sitting at our kitchen counter. My wife was on the other side of the counter. And I thought to myself, I'm done surviving. I'm thriving. But I just say that mindset has everything to do with the place that you're in. Mindset is the difference in seeing the glass half empty and half full. More about that later. So depression. I know I was talking about depression. I'm all over the page with my little notes here, and give me another 20 minutes or so, and then we'll hop off. Um, Depression has so where does depression come from? There are lots of different ways. Let me just give you a few. I don't know if you all know this or not, but not only depression, but mental illness can be genetic. It can be genetic. There can be family history of various mental illness conditions. Another thing is that there can be depression that runs in a family. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the history and the epigenetic side of depression just in brevity. Biological factors can create depression when parts of a brain is smaller than others. It affects the neurotransmitters, and that can create, through those biological factors, that can create and open a door for depression to come in. Here's a big one: childhood experiences. Childhood experiences. Let me just pause here and say that it was something about 40 for me. When I turned 40, it's like I remember my parents' mortality came into focus. When I hit 40, I started thinking, I'm not gonna have my mother around forever. I'm not going to have my dad around forever. Nothing was wrong with either one of them. I'm just saying, when I hit that 40, That 40 mark in age, I begin to think a little differently. But not only am I thinking differently, thinking about the kids' educational future and thinking more about retirement and am I happy with what I'm doing, all those kinds of things. But I remember that there was this like an undoing that came on the inside of me. Now, I've been a proponent of therapy for a long time, a very, very, very long time. I think that's how a marriage stays healthy. I think that as individuals, that's how we stay healthy. But my childhood issues started popping up. Now, I've never been sexually abused, um, but I had some childhood stuff that began to unravel when I hit 40 and I started to see the impact that it was having on the relationship I had with my wife and in many other areas. And as I began to process through that, it started to even produce some depression. I don't know why do I feel like a man. You are mm, you are late 50s and you're trying to keep it together right now as you listen to me. Brother, help is here. That thing that you've carried since your childhood. I'm feeling 13, 12 to 14. Um, right along in there. That thing that just it keeps haunting you and chasing you. In every area and place in life that you move, it shows up some kind of way. Help is here. God loves you. One of the hashtags I use in my post is it's okay not to be okay. It's not okay to stay in a place where you can get help. Childhood experiences can bring on depression. Life events can also bring on depression. I could say much more about that. But again, even when I turned 40, the place where we were when we were at the age of the church, I had taken on a whole lot more. My kids were in a different place. There were new financial responsibilities that I had with them. There was a whole bunch, and life just started to weigh down on me. And you start trying to fill all these holes and be all things to all men, and that was exacerbating what was already there. Behind every mental illness, there is stress. Behind every mental illness, there is stress. And when the pressure of life increases the stress, whatever is there is going to begin to rise to the top. All right. Let me just pause and see what y'all saying over there in the chat. I'll give you some time to matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that. You got a question, you want to make a comment, you go ahead and get popped into the I don't know, the green room backstage. Okay, I think this is it. I'm gonna just drop that in the chat right there. You can go ahead and click on that link and you'll come right back here and I'll be able to see you. I'll be able to see you here. Is that the right one? JTC. Hold on. Can I delete that one? Okay, good. Hide. No, I need to hide that one. Copy, paste, put that one there. Okay. All right. So there it is. Show. Well, that don't help y'all, does it? I don't want to just show you. You got to click on the link. You got to click on the link. Go to the chat, click on the link. You got a question or a comment to make. There you have it. Thank you, Charmaine. Adverse childhood experiences. Right Sky triggers. That does it. David Martin, you were talking about your diagnosis of depression, anxiety, and bipolar 2. Thank you, Dave, for getting me back on target. But man, y'all with me. I guess I probably should have been. I probably should have been looking at the chat. All right, somebody just showed up, Candace. Give me 1 second, and I'll be right there with you. Um, yes, medication, the importance of it was the direction you were going. Y'all, thank you. Y'all are the best. I'm gonna start calling my community thrivers. We're thrivers. We're thrivers. Thank y'all very much. All right, so that's how depression comes on. Why am I talking about this? Because sometimes you don't know how you got to where you are. And when I start figuring out why I was in a place, it almost like took a 10-pound weight off an 800-pound bar. It wasn't, it was a clarifying moment for me, because even when that happened, it started to be able to show me, okay, what else is here. All right, now when it comes to black men have higher rates of mental health conditions like depression and are more likely to experience severe symptoms compared to white adults. Black men have a greater chance of experiencing severe hopelessness, sadness, and feeling overwhelmed. That is scary. That's scary. I'm going to unpack this here in just one moment, but I'm very interested to see what Candace was going to say. All right, Candace, I'm going to pop you on, and can you come up here? Okay, so cool, nice picture. Is there something you wanted to say, a question you wanted to ask? And then we'll get back to these other three things, and I'll let you guys go.
No, you just said click on the link, so I clicked on the link.
Oh, well, thank you for your obedience. I thought you had a comment or had a question. Thank you,
Oh
ma'am.
no.
Glad that you're here. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. You can unclick the link.
Okay.
All right. All right. Good. So, black men have higher rates of mental health conditions like depression and are more likely to experience severe symptoms compared to white adults. They have a greater chance of experiencing severe hopelessness, sadness, and feeling overwhelmed. Now, I am not saying which community has it worse, but I am saying that there is a history of Black America, the trauma that was a part of being separated from Africa, the Middle Passage, slavery, building the economy on the backs of Black people who did not choose to come to America. Even when you look at government and subsidized programs being incentivized for a woman not to be married, to have more kids, to be paid more money, to stay home, all this stuff plays into not only the Black family, but the Black man. So now you got even names, my baby daddy, or are you a baby mama? Even taking it from a noun, excuse me, from a personal pronoun. My name is Eric. My name is Erica. To this my baby daddy, this my baby mama. So you start seeing all these things, even some of what happened in slavery, how black men were pitted against each other, the way that black men were used to stud as studs, even the way black women were used. And so all these different things that other races did not experience, these are packages that are passed down from generation to generation to generation. The same way there are physical um, elements that are clear. Williams, our genes are just dominant. My father, my granddaddy looks like my dad. I look like my father and my mother. I think I look more like mom. I have mom's bone structures, but I hear it time and time again. You look like your dad. You sound like your daddy. You act like your daddy. If you were to see my two kids, you would know that I am their daddy. And the same way that genes pass down in the physical look, so so does it happen in our DNA, in our genetics. The Bible, there's one particular scripture, I think it's in the book of Psalms, where it talks about a woman, a mom, and a babe lying in a mom's arms and the eye contact and what is in the mom's being that has been passed on to her is being passed through and via eye contact. This is God's order of things. It happens and is happening like most every other ugly thing that there is, because of the curse that was released when Adam and Eve were put out of the garden. Long story, a different day. I want you to understand that when it comes to being a black man, there's a different element that must be understood and respected. It must be understood and respected. But now I want to qualify my statement and say, but that's not a reason to accept it. Never let your condition or your experience be that which you settle for. That is the difference from surviving and thriving. When you accept where you are, when you accept it's going to be like this, when you begin to accept that, and that's not God's best for you, you're living beneath your standard, but then also you're coming to agreement with what the devil wants for you in your life. So, yes, I've had these issues. Yes, I've had to fight and I've had to struggle. I've had to be recognized. I've had to work twice as hard. I get it. I understand. And here's where you can become defiant. I understand that depression, when it comes to black men, there are higher rates of mental illness even there, but I don't have to be that. I I don't have I might have some semblance of it now, but I do not have to accept where I am as being where I will be. My goodness. I do not have to accept. Put that in the chat. I do not have to accept where I am will be where I will be. God dog, I done messed it up. I hope somebody got that one for me. I do not accept that where I am is where I will be. I think that's what I said. I do not have to accept where I am is where I will be. When you come into agreement with what God says about you, when you come into agreement with what God says about you, something clicks on the inside and you start to act different, walk different, talk different. But part of that comes with as you're learning about yourself, as you're understanding your patterns, as you're finding community with people, as you're getting help. All right. Let me move on to number two. Black men are less likely to receive proper mental health treatment and diagnosis as compared to other white counterparts. Less than half of Black Americans with mental disorder get the treatment that they need, which is only half the rate of white Americans. I was I was talking to, let me see, can I tell y'all who I was talking to? Would that be, how about this? I was talking to some white professionals that were in the church space, and this whole conversation about mental health came up. And then we were talking about pastors, and they know that I'm in therapy, that my wife and I are in therapy. And they said, made a very shocking statement to how they put it, white pastors count it a badge of honor to say that they have a therapist. I was shocked. I did not know such. And then they went on to say it is like being a member of a country club. What? That's where white America is. And we're talking about pastors, okay? Again, we cannot be so blanketed as to say, all groups, whatever. But I am talking about some professionals that have intimate interaction and connectivity over long periods of time in white church. Okay. They said that therapists are badges of honor for pastors. It is like being a part of a country club. I can't, I can't think. I was talking to a prominent pastor probably about a week or so ago. I say, hey, man, let me ask you, do you have a therapist? No, I don't. If anybody needed a therapist, it would have been them. Why do you say that? Because of some of the things that we've been talking about and how they were handling and approaching stuff. It's always good to talk. Whenever you start seeing trends change and the trends being marketed to, there is money behind it. I'm going to say that again. Whenever you start seeing trends change and being marketed to, there is money behind it. Think back over the commercials you've seen around talk therapy. It's these apps that you can get. And when you need to talk to someone because you're feeling like you're on the edge of things, or that you don't feel right on the inside, or you just got to get it out. You can take these subscriptions or pay people on a one-off basis or whatever it is, using an app and getting someone on the other side, and you can talk through it. Better Health, I think, is another one. There are all these different platforms. Why do you think that's the case? It is the case because first there's a principle that talking things out gets what is on the inside of you out of you so you can see it. Um, Baby, there was recently a time, I'm trying to remember what it was, when I start telling you something. We start the conversation. I didn't know what was up, but by the time it was over, it was very clear. Do you remember what that was about? Well, maybe I should say, can I talk about that? I don't remember what it was. I answered my own question. Thank you very much. um, there was this there was this some on the inside of me that was going on. I was in this space, and I knew I needed to talk to my wife about what it was. It was directly affecting us. And I remember I said, I need to talk to you about XYZ. And she says, okay. So we're sitting there, and I'm just going and I'm talking, and I just don't. By the time I finished the conversation with her, she had said nothing. Am I lying? She says, nope. She said nothing. All she did was look at me with a soft face, non-judgmental, and I had solved the problem with my own ears and with my own mouth. Um, my purpose in my time today is, yes, Father's Day is hitting different from me this year, but I hope you see that there are some principles, that there are some techniques, and there's some tools that I'm also being able to offer, and that's a big one. Now, there's got to be some other things that go around to it. There have actually been some times who, Pastor, you don't know my wife. Pastor, you don't know my husband. You don't know my lady. You don't know my man. I get it. I understand. I get all that kind of stuff. But what I'm also saying is, God will meet you where you are. He'll meet you where you are. There have been some times I couldn't get nobody on the phone. My wife wasn't hearing me. The dog wasn't hearing me. Nobody was hearing me. I just go get in the car and just drive. Just drive with the windows down, yelling, talking to myself. If I had to cry, cry. And I get back, I feel so much better. You got to get what's on the inside of you out. You cannot continue to carry that thing, or else you're opening the door and increasing the chances and the risk and the percentage of having to deal with depression. And once you get into depression, it is hard as hellness. Remember, mental hellness. To get out of that thing, it grabs you and it won't let go. Let me say, it can be hard to be let go. All right. So I hope you're picking up on that. All right. So let me just kind of go back. Those of y'all who are here again, the majority, yep, still so. The majority of you guys are coming from and logging in on Facebook. Please subscribe. I'm desperately trying to get to 100 subscribers. Subscribe and click that like button. Help me get this message out further. Would you please? Triggers adverse childhood experiences. That's a good one. Charmaine, Charmin, Prince. Thank you. That's a real good one. Um, Brenda Brothers, you were talking about the impact. Okay, so y'all helping me get back on track. All right. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. Let me give you another one first. I'm gonna drop this here. You got a question or comment? Um, Click that link if you have a question or a comment. That QR code up at the very top, you can scan it. Hop into my texting group where you'll come to know more about events like this. I'm going to start doing more stuff like this, um, but more in a community sense where we can see, hear, talk, touch each other in a limited way. And then also, if you cannot scan, if that QR code isn't popping up, you can just simply text JW3 to 844-868-9955. I'm going to wrap things up here in just one second, but if there's somebody out there that wants to connect with me one on one, you want to connect with me one on one, and you would want somebody to walk with you through where you are, I am going to drop that link here. This is to my scheduling calendar, and would love for us to possibly connect if it works, if it's a good fit. All right, so I gave y'all, yeah, black men are less likely to receive proper mental health and treatment diagnosis. And that's why I was talking about the white pastors counting therapists as badges of honor. Here's a third one. Barriers that prevent black men from seeking mental health care include lack of access to culturally competent care. That's one barrier. Second, there's a distrust of the healthcare system due to the historical mistreatment. Think about the Tuskegee experiment. And then the third barrier, that's listed here, is a stigma within the Black community that views mental health issues as a sign of weakness. These are barriers. I'm going to give them to you one more time. These barriers prevent Black men from seeking mental health. First one, finding culturally competent care. What that means is oftentimes, um, as a Black man, I do not want a female urologist, a white female urologist. Y'all understand what I'm saying? As a Black man, my preference, if I had to pick a urologist, it would not be a white female. As a Black man, I would, if I was picking a urologist, would not want a Black woman. As a Black man, I would want a Black urologist. So now let's look at that when it comes down to mental health care. There's a stigma, there's a barrier that as Black men, we don't know where to go and look for culturally competent Black people, Black professionals to be able to talk to, in part because we think that they do not understand our struggle and our plight. And that is very, very important. I'm not saying, I am not saying that white therapists cannot help Black people. A white man cannot help a Black man. I am not saying that. As a matter of fact, our therapists, they are white, a white man and a white woman who've been married for however many years they've been married, and they are godsends. Part of what makes them a blessing to us is that they are empathetic with an appropriate amount of empathy towards what it's like to be Black in America. and particularly what it's like. These are the kinds of this is the kind of awareness that they bring. Not trying to be black, a bro, what up, sis? That no, I'm talking about that they are aware of. So I'm not. I say that only to say I am not saying that it's impossible, but this is a barrier. And then when it comes down to the distrust of the healthcare system, we have been a test case. Even when it came down to Planned Parenthood. I mentioned about the Tuskegee Airmen. Like, okay, so we're the upgrade of the lab rats or the lab mice. That's all of this thinking. So now there's this distrust. I'm not gonna let you into my life. But again, we got God on our side. I understand all these things, but I believe that God can lead me to the right person. And because God has given me discernment, I'll know when and how and who to trust. And if not, that's why I'm trying to establish and build a community where I can offer sources and resources, people that I've vetted or have a good feeling with to be able to offer. Y'all understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to put I'm trying to put a dent in this thing. I'm trying to help take back what the enemy has stolen. And I'm doing it with being as vulnerable and as transparent as I can be and with a cry, come on. Come on, black men, come on, black families, come on, families. We can do this. God's got better for us than that. So there's the cultural competence issue, there is the distrust of the healthcare system, and then there can be the stigma in the black community. In other words, our homeboys, our friends, or whatever, man, what's wrong with you? Oh, punk. Men ain't supposed to cry. That is the biggest lie that the devil has ever told. Men are not supposed to cry. And every one of us has an uncle, a big cousin, somebody that told us that lie. Men are not supposed to cry. If a man isn't supposed to cry, why did God give us tear ducts? If a man's not supposed to cry and experience and be in touch with his emotions, why did God make us emotional beings? We can feel happiness, we can feel we can feel excitement, but we cannot be moved to the expression of tears. It's a lie. It is a lie, and that has become pervasive in our community. That we get therapy another kind of way. You pick your way in which you get your therapy, and that's what people are seeming to embrace and hold on to, and that is not the case. So when we know the barriers, then we can now step over the barriers to get to a place where God is getting us to safe space, where God is getting us to some help. I hope tonight has been good. I'm looking to see if there are any other comments. It doesn't seem to be. Man, YouTube kicked butt on tonight. 28 folk are sitting over there at Jasper Williams 3. We got a few folk on our Facebook page. Um, do me a favor, if you would, please, and go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as click the like button. It would be so appreciative or so appreciated. I would be appreciative. It would be appreciated. I'm going to one more time drop a couple of things there. You want to connect with me? There's my schedule, and would love to do that with you. And then the next thing that I would do, I'll share with you, is in the top right there is my QR code for those that want to be a part of my community. Again, I'm establishing a community. When I do things such as this, you will be alerted. You can hop out of the community anytime you get ready just by clicking stop, and I will stop sending you text messages. If you cannot get to that QR code that's there, then I just sent you what you can do to text in. It's the same, leads you to the same place. Text JW3 to 844-868 9955. 9955. I ought to be able to. Oh, I can do that. There we go. Text JW3 844-868 9955. Hey, Garrison. Hey, man. I owe you lunch. I've been thinking about you and praying for you. I love you, sir. All right. Doesn't seem to be that there are any other questions or comments. I hope tonight has been beneficial for somebody, that has been educative in some sense, in some way. If you have not seen the podcast with Dr. Brian and I, well, two things. Let me say, when you go to the YouTube page, my YouTube page, Jasper Williams 3 underscore is what it is. I think I dropped that link earlier. If not, just look Jasper Williams 3. I think this is it right here. Let me see. If I give y'all the wrong thing, let me test it myself. Yep, there it is. All right, all right, all right. All right, so there's the link to my YouTube channel. When you first land on the page, there is there will be a video that automatically starts playing. It was I was able to teach at New Birth, their group therapy, um, and that was a good time for me. It was affirming in so many different ways. But so that's one piece that there's some good stuff in there that you can take and apply and use and benefit by. But then also, if you go to Dr. Bryant's podcast, go to it on YouTube. Let's be clear. The name of the podcast is Let's Be Clear. Jamal Harrison Bryant, and I am the most recent podcast that is there. It was just released this past Thursday. He drops a new one every Thursday. If you want to see what that's about, would love for you to do that. Tonight's been my pleasure, and if y'all send me some feedback, whatever, even if you reply to that text message, I want to do more of what more needs to be done. I want to be talking about something that people could care less about. But the fact that I think the most we had tonight was 38 people on, and I still got 30. That means a lot. I mean, I said something to somebody for you to give up your time or offer your time tonight at 8 o'clock and still be hanging in here with me. I appreciate it. I count it an honor to have spent the moments that I've spent with you. You all have a great evening. You're welcome, Laverne. Come on, somebody. All right, Sky. I love it. I love it. I love it. Y'all have a great night and a good rest of the week. God bless y'all.